Hello and welcome back to the board. I'm the Gap Major and this is WoWs Weekly. WoWs Weekly is the weekly news video covering World of Warships Legends in regards to the week past, week previous and the week coming up, along with channel speculation and, if I have it, other intelligence data regarding potential speculations or what we might know coming up in the future. Anyway, obviously today's Wales Weekly is slightly delayed in comparison to the usual release time simply because I have the draft patch notes in front of me at the time of recording, which are obviously subject to change, which are embargoed. So, this is going to be... Well, we're going to cover the patch notes, but we're going to take a look at the skeleton of the patch notes. Obviously, the patch notes will be released. They will be down in the comments in a pinned post, linked. So if you do want to go read in depth, then you can obviously check that out. And obviously there will have been a trailer which will be, well, basically carded on the end screen, I guess you could say, or on the end screen. Furthermore, we're also going to be doing a live stream regarding the patch notes. Well, basically I go through the patch notes and you can obviously give your feedback, opinions, questions, queries while I'm going through them, and also we can then discuss it as a community while we're doing that. So that will be scheduled later today. But before we jump into the patch notes, we will cover some of the other news in regards to World of Warships Legends. And also, we'll have a brief chat about Arena, and then we'll jump into the patch notes, followed by, obviously, the channel admin. So, starting off with the other news, I should say, it's worth mentioning it now that the Oklahoma project will disappear at the end of this patch if you have not started it. So you need to get your foot in the door to stop it disappearing. In order to get your foot in the door, you need to at least complete one research point. Otherwise, she will disappear. Once you've completed that one research point, she will stay. You don't necessarily have to continue researching, you just need to have at least a little bit of progress completed on it. With the Oklahoma, the ship, obviously, review carded top right now, if that does interest you. But it's not really about the ship, I would say. I say it's more about the journey to the ship, the rewards along the way, such as permanent camouflages and other rewards. Talking of the journey and other rewards, it's your last week to complete the bag ration campaign, I guess you can say, and get your P bag ration. Now, obviously, she's locked behind empty backing, but I wouldn't necessarily say the ship is the main reason to get the empty backing. It's about the other rewards along the way. Now, if you do decide that you want to get the ship, obviously you have to have that empty backing. If you haven't completed enough milestones and you don't think you will be able to complete enough milestones in order to get the bag ration, then obviously you can boost through the campaign at 250 doubloons per step. But that's up to you, I guess you could say. Furthermore, coming to an end of this week will be the Transformers collaboration, where the Transformers Wave 1 and Wave 2 commanders and camouflages, which have been available in the store, will be basically last week to purchase them. If you want to pass them, that's fine. If you are interested in them, obviously, fair warning, because they won't be available next patch. Now, in regards to the community managers live streams, obviously there is going to be Ships of the Line, the historical live stream by Prince Blip, covering American light cruisers, which will be taking place on October the 1st at 4 PM UTC. Furthermore, there will be a live stream by Takana celebrating Germany Unity Day, which is on Sunday, October the 3rd. I believe that will be a German language live stream. So, you can tune in, you'll watch Takana play some German ships, but you might not be able to understand unless you have German as your primary or secondary language. Obviously, I was away last week, so I wasn't able to cover the news last week, but last week we did see the Zoiho come out. I'm yet to review her. Fingers crossed she will be reviewed and released for tomorrow. Obviously, we have the USS Missouri is now starting to appear in the wild, I guess you could say. Because of that, the CCs have been granted the Missouri, and I have done my review, and that'll be carded top right now for my opinions and such. Go check that out. So, on to Arena. Now, they've released the stats for all seasons of Arena. Ironically, they actually retracted the stats for Season 5, so I had to recover that from my recycling box, but I believe that's because they gave the Graf Spee the American flag, so USS Graf Spee as we now know her. So, it's interesting to see what we can take away from the information available, and while I'm discussing this, I'll occasionally have these results just pop up on the screen. So looking at Season 5, and in comparison to the other seasons, it's interesting to see that the total participation drops rapidly. In Season 5, a total number of 209,000 players participated, This drops only 58,000 players in Season 6 and 42,000 players in Season 7. So it's interesting to see that the interest in playing Arena drops massively. Whether this is because of the ships in the season, because of their tier, or whether this is due to player burnout or player interest, because they obviously did this like 3 weeks in a row. Did players just go after the first season? I can't be bothered with it. It's interesting to see. However, one thing that's quite interesting to take away from it is that the amount of kills per season, obviously it decreases because the number of players playing decreases, but they do stay relatively high. In Season 5, you're looking at 623,000 kills. This goes down to only 597,000 kills for Season 6 and 438,000 kills for Season 7. So the number of kills stays quite high up, I guess you could say. So even though the player numbers drop by 75%, the number of kills only really drop by a maximum of 33%, I guess you could say. I'm doing some vague rounding, the numbers aren't going to be completely accurate there. But it's interesting to think that. So I guess you could say in Season 5, could you say that 25% of the players were getting 66% of the kills? So whether that means that the skill level of the players, like averaged, I guess you could say, for Season 5, Season 6 and 7 is higher than that of Season 5 would be one way to potentially say it. It's also worth noting how games ended. The percentage of games that ended by the base being captured decreases from 32% in Season 5 down to 20% in Season 7. So a general decrease as we go through as well as you look into Season 6. Whereas the amount of victories due to a team victory, basically one team wiping out the enemy teams, increases from 46% to 62% over the 3 seasons. The amount of games that end in a draw or go down to the end timer stay relatively the same. The draws definitely stay relatively the same. The amount that go down to a timer drops a smidge, but it's only a small tolerance, I guess you could say. So it's interesting to see how as potentially the player base got better at the higher tiers, the amount of games that were pushed through as a victory by a full team increased. It's also interesting to see that generally the player base like to play German ships. German ships, to mention that they definitely have the most. We got the Bayern, the Nuremberg, the Graf Spee, the T61, the Guide, the York, the Gneisenau, the ZF6, the Hippo, and the Bismarck all getting honourable mentions from these results. Next, I guess you could say, I guess Season 5, the Americans definitely get the runaway winners with the presence of the Monahan, the Manhattan, the Dallas, the Pensacola, the New Mexico, the Tennessee, and the California. I guess maybe you could say the Grasberg because it's a little wrong flag. The Japanese come in second, I guess you could say, well, third really, with the Fuso, the Aoba, the Fubuki, and the Akatsuki. So it's interesting to see that. It's amusing to note that the destroyer that's come first place in Season 7 is the second really premium destroyer, which it's easily accessible, I guess you could say, because the campaign was very recent in comparison, say, the Yudachi, and she only cost like 2,500 doubloons if you completed the campaign, in comparison, say, the Paleo Media, which was 750,000 global XP. So it's interesting is that because she was a premium ship, that's why she's come top there. But yeah, that's just my little assessment of the results. And it's interesting for Wargaming to actually officially release the results and show the level of interest of the player base in Arena at the different tiers. It'll be interesting to see if they continue to do this in future, because I do like seeing this kind of information and being able to extract from it. Okie dokie, well that's all the other news, I guess you could say, so it's time to crack on with those patch notes. As I mentioned, live streaming it later. This is a draft patch notes that I'm reading from, so they are obviously subject to change, so some of the things I say may not be completely correct. If you want to read the official patch notes for yourself, that will be down in the description, or if you're just listening while you're working and you want to just get a bare bones feel of what's happening in this patch, then feel free to continue listening. So first of all, it's the October patch, so expect Halloween stuff, but we'll come to that. So let's talk about the campaign. Well, we already know that it's a double ship campaign. We know that it's a two tier 7 ships, the Loyang and the Friesland. Now, this is the interesting one. So obviously the ships will be locked behind anti backing. Anti backing will cost you 2,500 doubloons. Once you complete the campaign and have purchased your anti backing, you'll be able to pick one of these ships and you will receive it. You will then be offered the opportunity to purchase the second ship for 17,500 doubloons. So if you want one of these ships, it only costs you 2,500 doubloons. If you want, and obviously blood, sweat and tears in order to complete the campaign. If you want both of these ships, it will cost you 20,000 doubloons and blood, sweat and tears in order to complete the campaign. Now, that obviously seems a little underhanded, and I can appreciate that point of view, but another way of looking at this is that's 20,000 doubloons for two tier 7 destroyers, premium destroyers, which is cheaper than buying two tier 6 premium destroyers from the store. In fact, it's on par with purchasing two tier 5 destroyers from the store, because their tier 5 ship is worth 10,000 doubloons. A tier 6 premium ship, I should say, is worth 12,500 to 15,000 doubloons. So when you look at it that way, you're getting two tier 7 premium ships for the price of two tier 5 premium ships, but you'd have to do a bit of blood, sweat and tears in order to get there. And in that regards, I don't think it's that bad, I guess you could say. So, with the Loyang, she is a Benson, but she's only got 4 guns, so maybe you could say it's a Charles F. Hughes. But she comes with, obviously, the ability to swap out the torpedoes, potentially maybe very similar to the way that the Benson can obviously have a torpedo upgrade or not. And the way this torpedo upgrade works is you can either have long range and low speed torpedoes or short range high speed torpedoes, which is basically how in reality they would actually dictate the range of a torpedo was by adjusting the speed, or the speed of the torpedo dictated the range, I guess you could say. So because obviously the way that the internal oxygen tank worked with the fuel, or the internal air tank depended on the nation's torpedo. Anyway, that's getting a bit too technical. So obviously the Loyang has the consumables smoke. She can have an engine boost, or you can swap it out for a sonar, so it's going to be quite interesting there. If you do get the Loyang, obviously you will then gain access to the Pan-Asian commander, which is Ding Ruchang, whose base trait is Gunslinger, which will affect the main battery reload time of all ships, I believe, by up to 4%, which is quite intriguing potentially. On the alternative, you have the Friesland. Now, she is a pure gunboat because she has no torpedoes. However, she does have a high rate of fire with her guns and very good access with those guns, because they are 360-degree guns. Although they can't shoot 360, they rotate 360, therefore improving your ability to kite. She obviously comes with engine boost, smoke, and she also comes with sonar, so there's no need to pick her. And if you don't have Swirsky already, then obviously if you choose this one at the end of the campaign, you will get Swirsky. His base trait obviously affects the concealment of all ships. But here's the caveat for both of these commanders. Ruchang and Swirsky are going to serve as the starting universal commanders for Pan-Asian and European ships as soon as such branches make it to the game. So basically keep that in mind, because when, let's say, tech tree ships for these nations come to the game, these commanders' skill trees, their base traits probably stay the same, but their skill trees will be changed to the universal commander skill trees. Very much similar to, say, like Jericho or Togo, or who's the American one? Is it Sims? Don't quote me on that one. Anyway, obviously with this campaign, it comes with all the usual goodies and rewards along the way, and so I won't be going into depth on those. In regards to Halloween, looks like we're having a return of the escort the Transylvania, or saving the Transylvania, which we saw in October 2019. I'm very intrigued to actually see that return. Furthermore, there's going to be a second Halloween event in which you have to defend some magical towers from another PvE event. So both these events are PvE, players versus AI. So it's going to be quite intriguing. I do actually kind of look forward to streaming these. Obviously, with it being Halloween, we will see a return of maybe previous Halloween commanders, but certainly some new Halloween commanders as well, I believe. Also along the lines of Halloween-themed camos for the Lexington, the Shokuku, the Bismarck, the Tirpitz, the Benson, the Kagera, the Chapayev, and the Jasmine Tau. There's also going to be pumpkins, or golden pumpkins they call them, in which you can receive certain rewards, but obviously we'll look at those later on today, I guess you could say. Early access Soviet cruisers, yippity-doo-dah, more Russian ships, I should say. Yes, so there's going to be a Russian tech tree split of, I think it's basically heavy cruisers. You've got the Kotovisky at tier 4, the Gorky at tier 5, the Tanin at tier 6 as early access. Obviously, you'll only be able to get them from Soviet Crate, and then in the following patch in November, the Donskoy at tier 7 will become fully researchable along with the whole tech tree. That also means, talking about more Russian ships, I should say, we are seeing the Udalo becoming researchable this October patch, I guess you say, along with the Sub, the Bovioi, and the Kiev. So they're basically coming out of early access. Next patch, October, looking at the German tier 6 light cruiser design, the Wilhelm, which is basically the York class cruiser design, but equipped with 12 5.9-inch guns. So a German light cruiser, potentially interesting, I guess you say. Other changes that they're doing is they are making it so that you can actually view the consumables of ships within the bureau and the store. This is something that has been very much needed. So it means you're not going into the dark and guessing what consumables certain ships have or what those consumables do, or having to troll around looking at reviews and stuff. You can actually look at it first hand, I guess you could say. So that's a very nice thing. Big news, I guess you say, new sound engine for the game, new gun sounds, new engine sounds. So finally, we are getting that sound update that we have all been waiting for. There's also going to be a mission tab update where legendary tier ships will no longer be separated from all the other ships as well. So basically, the new sound engine in the mission tab and the way the campaign's working, it does seem like there's going to be a lot of behind the scenes coding changes to the game. Regarding balance changes, the Baltimore's finally having her reload time brought in line with the... so the Zerlane Baltimore's having their reload time brought in line with Baltimore. Gearing's also getting some buffs to her AP and HE shells and muzzle velocity. Hatsuharu's getting a reload buff in regards to her main battery. Hawkins is getting a reload buff in regards to her main battery. Montecucci is getting a buff in regards to her turret reverse speed. The following carrier, well, pretty much every single tech tree carrier is getting a nerf to their detectability by sea, somewhere in the region of about 1.8 to 2 kilometers, give or take, is the best way to put it. Pretty much every carrier as well is getting a nerf to their detectability by air, except the Lexington, the Rhine, and the August von Passwell. So the general nerfs, it varies, I guess you could say. It's in the region of about 0.8 kilometers, give or take, whereas some do get a buff, but that buff is anywhere between 0.1 and 1.1 kilometers, depending. Furthermore, more nerfs to carriers, I guess you could say. So there's going to be a new mechanic called out of fuel. So basically, once a carrier is sunk, the squadrons only have 150 seconds of airtime until they basically end up disappearing. So this basically will stop carriers being able to continue to spot for their team after they have been sunk, which also means that it puts a limit on their input on the game after they've been sunk too. Furthermore, the Dark Silhouette trait has been nerfed. This will affect Japanese and German commanders. This will also affect the Archipelago or Blue Steel Japanese aircraft carrier, and the Transformers German carrier commander. But being these are traits that are also shared with the tech tree commanders or the standard commanders, it seems reasonable. These changes will basically, it's affecting, like I said, the Dark Silhouette, and rather than it being 3% per level, it's now going to be 2% per level. So this would decrease it from being a maximum of 12% to a maximum of 8%. Other changes, I guess, one thing that's quite intriguing is that the AP tracers are going to become more visible. That's one thing I have noticed on some maps. AP tracers just seem to just disappear and can be quite hard to see because they are white in contrast to, say, like a bright sky or white sky. Shard's map is also having its spawns reworked a little bit, and there's also numerous other bug fixes, but we won't go into depth on those. So that's the patch all covered, and that's all the general news covered. So what have we got in regards to the channel? Well, fingers crossed I can get a Zoiho review done for tomorrow. Obviously, live stream later tonight covering the patch notes. Live stream Friday night as well, as usual, where we will be basically playing the game. What will happen over the weekend, I don't quite know yet. I have only just got back into the swing of being back home from holiday, so I haven't yet been able to divvy up my time as I normally would, but we'll see what we see, and then we'll go into the next patch, which will generally, I'm looking forward to some of the quality of life changes there. I think some of the nerfs to the carriers is certainly reasonable, and Halloween events, I do look forward to those because I think that'll be quite some nice streaming content actually as well, if I can get a nice division sorted for that one. Oh, well, I haven't got anything really to speculate, so I'll sign off here. If you have enjoyed this, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy this content, feel free to subscribe. Down in the description will be the usual stuff. The link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. Patreon is a non-monetized channel. And the email address for the channel if you want to send any of your own game captures for the Community Spotlight video on a Monday. If I want to get back into the swing of doing those as well. And so, I believe that's everything. So until next time, I'm the Gavin Major. And back to the port.
Hey, hey, clear the way. Here comes the galloping major. Bumpity, 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 bump. Get out of the way there, you fellas. Unless you want me to run you down.